Punter James.
Hey.
Latest punt poll is in.
Punt poll.
Latest punt
not
poll.
Oz poll. Punt poll.
Punt poll. 57% would say in our current punt poll that they would vote for an independent candidate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty
57%
fair with our demographic.
with
that
our
listens in.
demos.
Sounds about right.
We got a 15% no.
Oh.
Okay, and we have a 28% not sure.
Okay.
So
Which means, as per the last couple of interviews we've done, we're aiming at that 20, 28,
Yes.
30% of people.
The no's, write them off.
Yep. No
they're
good.
the rusted on. They're not going to change. But there's a lot of energy around independent politicians.
Oh, yeah.
For this election, there's a lot of options in our great preferential voting system that people can have.
Love it.
So we have brought on a couple of those options.
A 2-for-1 special.
A 2-for-1. I'd like to introduce the punters to almost politician Alex Dyson and almost politician Erchana Murray-Bartlett. Welcome to the Punters Politics podcast.
Hey, thanks very much for having us, team.
Hello.
Now, we probably should just get you both to introduce yourselves. You've been on the trail now. You're probably knocking on doors. People are like, who the bloody hell are you? Let's begin. Almost politician Erchana. Who the bloody hell are you?
Yes. I am Erchana. I am a Gold Coast local, so Burleigh-Head. So I'm running for the electorate of McPherson, Southern Gold Coast. So if you've ever holidayed up here in, say, Coolangatta or Broadbeach, that's kind of where we're running. Who am I? I'm probably best known as that crazy runner that ran from Cape York to Melbourne in 2022, 2023. I ran 150 marathons.
Too many marathons.
Yeah, too many marathons. And 150, to raise money for Australian biodiversity, for conservation. So off the back of that, I've been a big advocate for the environment and climate and biodiversity ever since then. And then, bring on, October 2024, and the beautiful McPherson Independent said, hey, have you ever considered running for politics? To which I said, absolutely not. Not in a million years. And then thought more about it and had a few more conversations and said, well, you've been advocating for change all your life. You still want to run. Why not run for office?
If you love running so much, run for office. Almost politician Alex Dyson. How many marathons have you run?
Zero. Total of 0 marathons in my life. If you add up the half marathons I've done, maybe 1 marathon I've done. But when I got to the end of the marathon, the last thing I'd want the people at the finish line to tell me is, yep, great, just 1 more of those, thanks.
Just 149 more.
And plus
So when you're knocking on the
149 more.
door, and they're like, who the bloody hell are you, Alex Dyson? What do you say?
I say, hi, I'm Alex Dyson. I'm from Warrnambool, which is in southwest Victoria, and in the electorate of Wannon. So
We know you're knocking on our door.
Well, not necessarily, because Wannon goes all the way up to Ararat, which is up near the Grampians. It goes all the way to Anglesey on the Surf Coast, past the 12 Apostles and the Great Ocean Road, and it goes all the way to the South Australian border. So if I'm in the town of Casterton and I say I'm from Warrnambool, they're like, 2 hours away. Yep, beauty. I've never heard of you. So it's a big electorate, but my background is in radio. I did community radio in Warrnambool, and that somehow managed to get me a job at the ABC and on Triple J Breakfast, which I did for 7 years, and it was good fun times.
And then you decided that you'd rather talk to politicians than radio hosts.
Well, I did just get a little bit fed up because it was 2019 and I watched Scott Morrison knife Malcolm Turnbull, who had knifed Tony Abbott after he said, we need a stable government, after Rudd knifed Gillard, who knifed Rudd. And I realised I was 30, had not voted in an election where a Prime Minister had lasted the full term. And every 30-year-old in Australia hadn't either. And, working at Triple J, talking to a lot of young people, you really got the sense, what the hell is the point of this voting thing? Like, you vote for one person, you get another person. What the hell is this Westminster system? And, and why do we even bother if they're just going to start making all these decisions and not focusing on the actual things that were wrong? And so I found myself complaining about politics. And maybe a bit like you, Konrad and James, it's just like, well, what am I going to do about it? I sort of didn't. I thought, well, I may as well be the change I want to see in politics, and I just googled how to run as an independent.
Be the tea towel in the kitchen.
And I launched my first campaign in 2019 at the Whalers Hotel in Warrnambool, upstairs, 1 a.m. I was playing a DJ set. And I said, g'day guys, about to play music, but I need 100 signatures on my form here because I'm running for Parliament. So while you're dancing, and could you come up and sign this? And
Are they under
did.
duress,
And
a bit inebriated? Yeah, man.
Literally, a drunk dude said, "Do you want me to take your clipboard around and get some signatures?" I'm like, "That'd be great." And he wandered around. I think
Yes.
it's the only form that had beer stains on it when it got handed in. But I found it so enjoyable, literally talking to locals and finding like-minded people who were also a bit fed up with the way the two parties were acting. And it was amazing. And I got 10% of the vote the first time around, which is, it's not setting the world on fire, but it's for a 5-week campaign. It's not nothing either. And so I kept coming back. And so in 2022, I ran again and we managed to make my seat of Wannon, which has been safe for 70 years. Managed to make it marginal for the first time. And I'm sure the politically astute would know, is like when it's marginal, it's a close margin and the politicians panic and they go...
And start giving you more stuff.
All right, well, what do you guys want? What
Yes.
can we do to try and win your votes? Because we need to form government here. You got any projects you want us to fund? You got a road that needs fixing up
Car park.
here?
Give me a car park.
It's been really incredible. Yeah, trying to focus on the on those things. And here I am for my 6 years later, having my third tilt at the seat of Wannon.
Now, since you're both almost politicians, normally we would look at your financial disclosures, but you're not politicians yet. You don't have them.
Mm-hmm.
So we would like to take this opportunity to let you disclose to us in painful detail what you own, how much it's worth, what shares we hold in. Because if you get elected, we're going to bloody know about it. So, Erchana,
Good
kick us
thinking.
off.
I would love to.
Tell us about your assets.
Okay. All right, so currently renting in Burleigh Heads. Can't afford to buy.
I've been there. I live there.
Yes. So understand that one pretty thoroughly. I have a Mazda 3, 2014. It's a great mobile.
I think the only
Yep.
person that might be beating you on that is Max Chandler Mather with a 2004
4 Yaris?
Yaris.
Okay, so doing a bit fancier than Max. Yep, continue.
Yep. I've written this down for this moment. I have $618 in Bitcoin. I bought high and
Buy high, sell low. Hodl.
I'm so good at buying high and selling low, and I've been dabbling in that ComSec pocket. I wouldn't say it's much. So probably around 10 grand.
Oh, you don't have to give specific numbers.
Okay, there we go.
That's more than any politician gives. They just tell us what they're holding. We never know how much they're holding. So
You talk to the independents, and I've got advice from this before from people I get off air for a radio interview. Like, yeah, that was good. You might want to try, just try not answering the question from now on. I'm like, what? But they're asking me a question. Why not just answer the question?
Okay.
Yeah.
My team does it all the time. If there's a political maneuver game, I'm not very good at it. But I will also say that when I balance out what I own versus my HEX debt, it's not looking pretty. So we're on the up and
red.
up.
Okay, you're in the red.
I'm in
You've
the
got a
red.
HEX debt. How much HEX you holding? I bet you can't beat me.
It was one of those ones where it was 80,000, then it went up to 85, and now it's down to about 82.
Boy, I think
you guys
I
are
did a lot
quite
of
similar, aren't you?
degrees.
we're very close.
Yeah.
How many you
Yeah,
got?
how many? I've got a double degree and a master's.
Oh, you got more bang for buck than me. I only got
Yeah.
2.
Hence why you're running for politics and Konrad is a content producer.
Okay, Alex, what's in your ComSec app and your property portfolio?
Property portfolio. Well, my property portfolio is so interesting, that journey, because I moved to Sydney at the age of 21 after university, paid up front for uni, 20% discount. Thank you very much. So my degree cost me $12,000 in total, creative arts, which is pretty good. But I moved to Sydney and the property prices were out of control, right? This was 2010, and you're like, geez, I don't think I'll afford a house here. But then I'm thinking, oh, maybe I'll move back to Warrnambool. So I, one day, and I look back in Warrnambool, I'm like, oh, property prices are a bit more decent here. So I bought a 2-bedroom unit in Warrnambool, in my hometown, which was very nice. And then it's funny, you go to the accountant and they say, all right, so you're claiming this, and you're like, you're claiming this. Are you claiming this? And you're like, what are these sort of perks that they give people who are renting properties? Because I was still living in Sydney. And then you figure out, like, buying houses you don't live in, like tax-wise, is so different to actually buying out.
Very good.
So I
tax-wise.
own 5 properties now.
Wow.
Which, yeah.
He's a mogul.
I'm a mogul.
Absolute mogul.
Well, you're going to be in very good company in Parliament because most of them
Yeah.
own 3 or more. Some own 7. A couple more, you could take the top spot.
Yeah, and now
Alex-
it's to a point.
Alex,
It's getting
can
to
I
a point
have one?
where I could maybe trade them in for a single house in a capital city. But it's pretty amazing seeing that
He's the
system
property
work.
mogul of Warrnambool.
Okay,
Yeah.
you asking Alex if you can have a house just then?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's 4 on the podcast. If we all have one of them, that'd be great. So so that's where I've put a lot of my money over the years. But I'm really looking forward to being the first politician to vote against their own interests in terms of those kind of things. So yeah, I've got that. I own a business, which is a little comedy theatre in Melbourne. The car that I drive is lent from a friend for the campaign, which I'm Uber driving to keep up with my rent because the mortgage repayments, you're in the red for those kind of things. So yeah, that's my history.
Are you really driving an Uber?
Yeah, I am actually.
Do you take song requests when someone jumps in?
How's that for the...
Yeah, literally, I
good.
had the drunkest woman in the world and her daughter driving them home after a night at the pub, and she's like, "Can we put on some Dom Dollar?" So I'm like, "Oi Siri, play Dom Dollar, Miracle Maker," and then we cruised the streets listening to some Dom Dollar on the way home.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I hope everyone noticed a sly political maneuver there from Alex. It was a nice context personalization of like, here's the story of how I got 5 houses. I appreciate that. So I think that brings us on to the next segment.
Yeah, so I think in this political landscape, you need to be able to survive in the cutthroat world of politics. I'm sure
cutthroat.
you've both been exposed to it already. And to do that, sometimes you need to be able to throw someone under the bus. So we're going to play a little bit of a game. It's
Generally, your political opponents. They're the ones you want under the bus. You want to sidestep that bus.
That's right. But yeah, so we've got a little bit of a political maneuver in the dark arts category here, throwing each other under the under the parliamentary bus. So we've got a little scenario for you. The price of oat milk lattes. They've just doubled in smaller towns since you were both elected. It's in the future a little bit.
So imagine you're on Sunrise. Erchana and Alex, thanks for joining us here on Sunrise. What do you have to say about this astronomical increase of soy lattes in your hometowns and small towns across Australia?
Well, I'd have to say that I don't know the price of oat milk lattes because I drink full cream milk. In mind, one in a big dairy farming country, so it's good to support your local farmer when you're having a sip at the small businesses in the area, keeping me fit and strong to do this campaign. But the home of oat milk and Lululemon, Buddy Gold Coast, Erchana, I think she might be better at figuring out what the price of an oat latte is.
Merp, merp. I hear the bus steaming towards you, Erchana. What have you got to say for yourself?
Look, I am an oat latte drinker. That is my drink of choice.
We knew it. Thank you. Wrap it up.
And what do I have to say? I guess, supply and demand, it is a very popular drink here. So I actually don't know. I don't know how to throw Alex
Got
under
her.
the bus.
Got her,
me.
Alex.
Got
Oh,
me. You got me with my drink.
One right there is caring for the planet comes at a cost, and we on the Gold Coast care for the planet. And Alex just sipping down that cow's milk. You know how many carbon dioxide methane's coming out of those cows, Alex? Yeah.
The old cow fart technology. Yeah.
Yes.
It's going into my morning coffee, which in turn is making me fart. So I mean, it's a vicious cycle, isn't it?
What I gather from this is that Erchana, you're a perfect angel, and Alex, you're the devil.
And ready for politics.
You can tell he's had his third run at it, can't you? Yeah, I'm 6 months of his third run.
Yeah, you got to get the bus push.
Well done. That was pretty good. Yeah, I like that. There you
Erchana
go.
deer in the headlights, that bus, boom, she's underneath it. Alex is walking away whistling. Now, you don't have a voting record for politics yet, but give us some things that you recently voted for and some transparency. Did you vote for Australian Idol?
Have you voted on any Instagram polls recently?
Yeah. What, you've taken a punt? You've taken a punt
Yeah.
on something?
Horses, dogs, maths, I don't know, whatever.
Oh, I put $100 on myself to win at odds of $2.80. That's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, I like
Good,
that.
good. That's a good reason. That's believing in yourself.
That is, it's not insider
I know.
trading because I don't know the answer either, but it is it's a good solid punt.
Because footy players get suspended for doing something like that, but in
know,
politics
but
you don't really control it. So
Yeah.
you just
Well,
back
that's the
yourself
thing.
in.
If you'd bet the other way that you were going to lose, I think that would be insider trading because you could just completely throw it, right?
It's not, you're exactly right. Yeah, I could just go and say something really controversial.
I do remember the first time I voted, it was like, because I know like in school elections and that sort of thing, you're like, oh, it could be a little bit arrogant to vote for yourself. Like, I'll vote for someone else. And the first election I went to, I'm like, is it too weird if I vote for myself? Like here in the being on the roll, it's like.
Is this in year 6 when you were going for like class president and you were doing the rap up on stage? Is that what was happening?
Something like that. Yeah, you go, I'll let them, do it. But no, I have voted for myself twice now, and I'll probably bite the bullet and put number 1 in my own box. Come
you don't want to be the one
well.
vote that
No,
it came
could be the
down to.
difference.
Yeah, it could. Well, okay, so you both have clearly looked at the political landscape in your local electorate, and you've come to the very humble conclusion, I'm better than all these guys. Why are you running as an independent? What do you think you've got to offer? And why not join like a political party or join one of these movements where we can maybe get more power and have more of a difference?
For me, I ran as independent because I like that you don't have to toe a party line and that you're completely accountable to the constituents of your electorate. So I'm only going to get voted in if I have open and transparent conversations and I build the policies from the community up. So I really like that kind of grassroots, ground up policy making where it's the people that have a voice. And I know that we often get, the independents in Parliament get labelled the teals, but at the end of the day, they can disagree on whatever they want. They don't have a party line to toe. So for me personally, and in my previous life when I did this run and this expedition, I saw firsthand just how incredible it is when a community comes together and really unites. You're an unstoppable force for change, and I really wanted to bring that into this campaign here on the Gold Coast. We've been taken for granted, the same as Wannon, for being a safe seat for such a long time, that having constituents involved in the decision-making process and involved in actually how we're governed, it was a really important part for me.
Yeah, and for me, like, when you say to, like, oh, maybe have more power in a major party, like, I just would say something like, oh, Peter Garrett, right? He sort of, like Erchana and myself, came from a non-political background, like a different sort of background, got into politics, became the environment minister in the government, like they were ruling at the time. And James and Konrad, what would you say would have been his biggest win in that time? What was the most powerful thing he did at the time for the environment in the government?
I wasn't politically aware at that time. I was a currently non-voter, so don't know.
Yeah, like you sort of look at you look at Malcolm Turnbull, the Prime Minister, announcing, "Oh, we're going to have a plebiscite on gay marriage or marriage equality," and it's like you're watching him. He's like, I don't think he thinks this is a good idea. Like he doesn't have the power to say no to his party and go, actually, we're going to go this way. And so, I just don't think that. When you're in a party, you do have as much power because you do have to, as I kind of said, toe the party line. And so when it comes to having the power, like as far as myself goes, I'm the candidate because I'm from the area. Like I like chatting to people. I could work really well whilst tired. Thank you, Breakfast Radio. But also being in the media, like you can cop the abuse and the stuff that comes from those sort of things. And as far as the power goes, it's like keep telling anyone, it's the power's not actually in the person you vote for as much as it's in yourself. You have the power when you're electing, an independent, or you're deciding to elect someone in a party, to change your mind and say, we deserve better. We deserve better than they're currently getting from our people. And so when it comes to Wannon, 70 years of the one party, the power will be, I'll have the power that the people have given me. I won't have the power because, I'm some person who reckons he's the absolute best negotiator in Parliament, is going to get the best. No, I've got these people behind me who have said, look, we're sick of it. We're going to vote for Alex and he's going to be our voice. This is what we want. And talking to some of the OG independents like Kathy McGowan, that's what independents are there to do. They're there to be the voice of the community, and the power in them is actually the power of the community and that they've given because they've decided we deserve better. And once independents get in, whether it's Helen Haynes who carried on from Kathy McGowan or Bob Catter or the independents who are looking like retaining their seats, They keep getting voted in. People like it, The Jackie Lambies keep getting voted back into the Senate because they're like, geez, it's nice to have someone who can say what they actually think, rather than the power, the so-called power in a party where they actually can't say what they want to say. So, yeah, that'd be my background on that.
Are you both running because the big parties have failed us and you? Are you running because in your communities you're looking at the party options you have in front of you, clearly not good enough, so you're running? Give me your theory of change around the independents, because you'll get a lot of criticism of, okay, then it'll just be like a bunch of chaotic people voting on their own self-interest, then one person can hold up good legislation because they're wrangling for their community. Give me your theory of change as why you've gone independent and you think that this is going to fix the Australian political system, which clearly is broken enough to get you guys to run.
Yeah, well, I mean, back when Parliament was established, it was 100 and I'm assuming 51, it might be a slightly different number, of actual independence. There was no party. It was a collection of ideas that were negotiated and turned into legislation. So we are stronger if we are negotiating bills and having these robust discussions rather than just shoving, bills through without proper consultation. I mean, the electoral reform bill was absolutely one that was just done to entrench power without actually having any, say with what the constituents want. It's actually threatening democracy as its core value. So I think particularly in the situation where community independents are growing, we're just seeing more and more, independent power. For example, we have this community values survey that we've been putting around the electorate for about 6 months. You'd think cost of living would be right up there. You'd think housing affordability would be right up there. But trust and integrity in governments was well and truly the number one issue that we're hearing from the people of McPherson. They do not trust to have their voice represented in Canberra. And that's not good enough. So having someone that they can speak to that's upholding that trust in governments is really good. And in the situation that we are looking like as a hung parliament, you would much rather be a strong independent on the crossbench who has the negotiating power to represent what our community needs versus, a liberal backbencher in our situation that actually won't have any say. So the Gold Coast will be better represented with an independent, hands down, over an LNP backbencher.
Yeah, the best way I heard it described is as an independent, you're never in opposition. You're never there where your number one thing is to win the election and make the opposition look bad. And so if a piece of legislation comes through, you don't have to go against it for the sake of it, because it's like, we want to look good. We want to give the other side to make them cop an L, and so we're looking better and we can come in and get the opinion polls to look better and then we'll get the momentum and we'll do that. Like, one of the good examples for regional Victoria, the independent Helen Haynes, is the bill comes through, the Housing Future Fund comes through, and she's like, righto, it's not perfect, but how can I make it better? And she's looking through it and reading it, which a lot of the, backbenchers don't do. The party whip just goes, all right, we're voting on yes for this one and we're voting no for this one. But she gets to read it and go, look, there's no mention of rural and regional Australia in here in this fund. Like, what is actually making sure that rural and regional Australia are looked after in this housing bill? Because it is a big issue for people. And so she moves an amendment to the bill. She's not there to go and say, this bill is rubbish. The Labor government are asleep at the wheel and they're doing this, so I'm voting against it. It's like, no, let's have a discussion and can we get rural and regional Australia included in this? So she moves an amendment, it gets included in the bill, and now when it's on some bureaucrat's desk, they're looking down the thing and go, oh, okay, rural and regional, like, where are we putting the houses for that? And it's suddenly taken care of. And so it's these small decisions which are born of how can we just do the best thing we possibly can, because you're not going to fix everything, but by having that less oppositional and antagonistic kind of discussion in Parliament where, oh gosh, yeah, you just watch Question Time, you're like, aren't we all meant to be on the same team here? Like, this is meant to be Team Australia, And yeah, just yelling at each other. And I was literally watching Question Time last year. I was in Canberra. They were yelling at, how much does your nuclear bill cost? And they were laughing at each other. Well, how much does your renewable transition cost? Neither of them knew. They were yelling at each other. The speaker finally brings them to a close. And then the speaker's like, we'd like to welcome the delegation from Papua New Guinea who are joining us here today. And I just remember just putting my head in my hands like, this is so embarrassing. Other countries are watching us do this. This is crazy.